This was my guest bedroom a few days ago, and after challenging myself to do a one-day makeover on a budget, I changed a few things around the room. I got new bedding, new decor, and working with what I had, I got the room to look like this. Not too bad, but it wasn't quite what I wanted, so I decided to up the budget and put in some work to really transform this room into a safe haven for my family when they come and visit. I did a quick search on how much an average bedroom makeover is, and some crazy numbers came up. This of course depends on the scope of the project, but in my case, I'm doing a small scale remodel and I'll be doing it all myself. So my goal is to do this for a fraction of the cost, but it didn't go without its challenges. I just noticed they gave me the wrong color. And the first part of my plan to transform this room is to turn it into a blank canvas so I can start over.
So the first thing I want to do is paint the whole room, and that will give me a blank canvas, but for that I have to take everything out because it's a lot easier to paint with everything out. And then I gotta decide what color I'm gonna paint it.
Surprisingly, taking everything out only took a few minutes. And luckily, Tony was here to help.
Is there one that you like better?
The first one and the fifth one look exactly the same to me.
I'm sure they do. This is the color of the bathroom. So this is just a little bit creamier. You ready to move this bed?
After we took everything out, I was getting ready to test more samples, and Buddy was finding ways to keep himself entertained. I was testing the same colors on different walls to see how it looked in different parts of the room, and I also wanted to see how it would contrast with the white trim.
So I went from 5 colors, narrowed it down to 4 colors, down to 2. This was a very hard decision because picking colors isn't easy. But I think I'm going to go with the lighter color, which is called Creamy. It's actually very close to the bathroom color, which is just a hint darker and creamier. The good thing about having such a light color is that I can pop the color everywhere else with the bed sheets, the decor, the pillows, the fixtures, things like that. So now that I have the color all picked out, I'm gonna send Tony to get the paint so that I can keep working on this wall. Tony.
Yeah?
Can you get paint for me? Please?
I'll try.
Just hand them that with those notes. Don't know what to do. So basically what I want to do with this wall is to create a very basic pattern wall. So I'm gonna be doing a little bit of woodworking and using wood strips to create the pattern. And talking about woodworking, let me tell you about the Woodworkers Guild of America, which is the sponsor of this video. Woodworkers Guild of America is your online resource for woodworking instructions, ideas, and information. They have videos about cabinet and furniture making. It teaches you about different finishes and joinery, which is one of the things that I've been wanting to learn since I've built my own cabinets and furniture in the past, and I plan to continue building.
This video in particular shows you how to glue up furniture legs, and that is something I've never done before, so I will love to learn.
Woodworkers Guild of America is always creating new premium videos to keep you coming back for more and help you stay inspired. Their instructional videos are taught by talented and friendly experts, and they walk you through each technique with a step-by-step demonstration, providing their expert tips and tricks. You can even connect with fellow woodworkers to ask questions, share ideas, and stay inspired, so that you can experience the satisfaction of creating something truly one of a kind with your own 2 hands. And the first 1,000 of you that click the link in the video description will get a full year of premium membership to Woodworkers Guild of America for only $1.49. Valid for new members only. Thank you, Woodworkers Guild of America, for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to this wall. I have to rant about this wall. Some of you pointed out on the last video that these were not centered with anything, not the bed, not the wall, and you're absolutely right. The reason for that is because these strips that the house came with, the strips are used to cover the seam of the drywall. So instead of using drywall mud, they put strips, and they are not centered with anything. So if I move the canvas to center it with something, it'll still look off-center because of where the strips are. And that was part of the reason why I put them there, because I did center them with these, which ended up being above the little nightstand dresser. But I am going to fix that now because these strips bother me. And if I center the bed, I actually spent quite a bit of time trying to think how I was going to center everything or make it look, I don't know, somewhat symmetrical with the strips being so off. I don't plan on doing drywall mud on the strips, which is what I've done in the past. I did it in the office, I did it in the bathroom, but it's time consuming. I don't like doing it, so I want to go an easier route, but I still want to make it look good, which is why I'm doing the pattern wall. So I'm going to lean into having strips, but I'm going to make them look like they're there on purpose instead of just slap them on a seam. You know what I mean? Come on. So this is my plan for the pattern wall. I also want to keep it simple because I'm trying to do this in a short period of time. I'm hoping I can do this whole makeover in less than 2 weeks. We'll see. I got a lot to do. I haven't talked about everything I gotta do yet. But basically the plan is to take these seams off and use this instead. It's just a little bit bigger so that they all match. The goal is to get all these strips to be equally spaced, or as equally as I can get them, because this strip right here has to stay there. I mean, I'm taking this one off and putting the new one on, but it has to be in that location, and this one too, because that's where the drywall seam is. With that in mind, I'm gonna space the rest of them out, and that will give me an even symmetrical looking wall, and that way I don't have to worry about things being off center as I'm moving the bed. Anyways, this was a whole thing that I was just staring at this room and at this wall for so long, trying to figure out what to do with it, because I did not want to do drywall.
I used a utility knife to cut a slit between the strip and the wall so that the paint wouldn't peel when I took the strip off the wall. Do you remember when the pattern walls were a trend? Especially the geometric pattern walls. I remember I always wanted to do one, but I wasn't quite ready to do that project while it was popular, so I'm kind of happy that I get to do a pattern wall now. But I'm going to keep it simple and just do a straight pattern. I'm also only doing the pattern in the main wall that the bed goes against, which is going to be the main focus. The strips that you see around the rest of the room are going to stay so that I can keep this project simple, otherwise it will become very time consuming.
It looks like I'm gonna have to at least cover a bunch of nail holes here because the strip was on this wall rather than this wall, but I'm putting one against this corner, so I thought I would take it off, and I didn't think it was gonna be that bad, but maybe I do have a little bit of drywall work, a little bit. This is what happens when you don't use the knife. So like I didn't do that section very well. See how it's pulling the paint? And it just pulls it off. When that happens, to avoid it, keep peeling all the way over here, I just take the knife and just kind of cut around where it ends, and then just peel that part off, and just right where I pass the knife, it'll stop peeling there. So there's like 1,000 little nails like that after I took the strip off. So I just have to hammer those in. That way the trim fits flush.
I finally got to nail the first strip of the pattern, but none of these pieces were long enough. The store only has 7-foot strips that were the right thickness, so instead of butting them together where the seam will be visible, I cut them at a 45-degree angle on each side and then overlapped them. Now I'm gonna measure the spacing between the strips so I can get them in the right place. Since they kept falling over, I used painter's tape to hold them in place to make it a little bit easier.
So I did the best I could to measure and make sure that they're even, but because certain strips have to go where they go, the edge ones and then the ones that cover the seams, it's gonna be a little off, mostly in this corner right here. So for those of you that love to point out when I am off doing something, that's it, that's the one. And for those who would have never noticed unless I told you, sorry. Now you won't unsee it. I'm not gonna put too many nails now until I know for sure they're in the right spot in case I have to take one out and adjust it. Before I nail it in, I'm gonna check it one more time, measure twice, nail once. I'm surprised that blue tape's holding up those strips like nothing. Huh, interesting. I'm surprised that blue tape's holding up those strips like nothing. I got them as even as I could get them. I know I said that earlier, but I spent more time on it. And I measured, and I taped, and I measured. This is like the widest space where it looks really uneven. So to kind of make up for it, I am gonna put that same piece of wood here in the corner, and then I don't have to do that drywall repair I thought I had to do for this whole corner that I ripped out. And that'll also space it out enough to where it doesn't look as uneven. You know what I forgot to do? To cut the bottom of these at an angle, because these are not long enough to get to the bottom, so I am doing little pieces to finish off all the way down to the bottom. They didn't have this in 8 feet. They only had these in 7 feet long. But the good thing is I only put like a couple nails on each, so I can take them off easily and go cut them. But I just remember that. All cut, now let's start nailing. Except that I gotta take the one nail out. Oh, okay, give me 1 second. I'm doing this with one hand because I'm holding the camera and it's not working out. Okay, you know what? There.
I got your paint.
Oh, thank you. What took you so long?
On our way to the store, we're gonna get some paint, and while I'm out, I think I might also get a new coffee maker, because our coffee maker is on the edge of becoming a scene out of Final Destination. Like, I'm afraid the next time I make coffee, it's gonna explode or something because the glass is cracked so bad. So we're gonna grab a coffee maker, and we're gonna get some paint, and we're not gonna be distracted by anything else we see. We got the paint. Ready to go. First stop down, and now we're on to Walmart to find a new coffee maker. We've got lots of options for coffee makers. Ooh, that one's pretty. It even says it's beautiful. Oh, it's got one of the Charlie's Angels on it. That's how you know it's gonna be a good coffee machine. Mission accomplished, but I'm hungry, so I'm gonna look for some food before I leave. Anti-farty milk. All the butter. Oh, snackies.
I am so deeply confused by this.
Mission accomplished.
I have no idea.
Yes.
Once I get the wood strips in the right place, I nail them in using a nail gun, but then I ran into a small problem.
Easy fix.
I used the multi-tool to shave off part of the strip so that I could slide the corner piece in.
Okay, I just have one more piece to go, but I have to have the piece from that wall done first so I can butt up against it. But that's going to be tomorrow because I'm going to start getting into the tedious cuts, and I'm kind of tired, and when I'm tired, I start making a lot of mistakes. So I'm gonna call it quits. I'm wearing my paint clothes today because guess what I'll be doing after I'm done with these? Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the rest of these strips that are missing, and then I'll get ready for the next step.
After I got done nailing the bottom trim piece, I wrote down the measurements for each of the small strips and cut them all at once. I originally decided to do this pattern wall because I thought it would save me time compared to doing drywall work, and at this point, I'm not sure that it's actually saving me time because it's more tedious than I anticipated. Even though it's simple, trying to get everything lined up and level is time consuming, but I do enjoy it a lot more than fixing it with drywall mud. I enjoy doing woodworking, so cutting these to the right size and making it look right is something that I have the patience for, versus when I'm doing drywall work, I just want to get it done and over with. Now that the pattern wall was done, it was time to prep for paint, and even though I'm rolling the paint, it usually splatters everywhere, so I like to cover the whole floor. And once the room looks like a scene out of a horror movie, it's ready to paint. I sanded the seams of the wood strips to make them smooth, and then I filled all the nail holes with drywall compound, and after they dried, I sanded those too. The last step before painting was to caulk the edges of each of the wood strips, and this will give it a smooth look after painting. When caulking, I use a small bead and then I use a wet finger to smooth it out. In this case, however, I opened the caulking a little too wide, so the beads were coming up a little thick, but as long as I made them smooth, it will still look good.
All done? Now I'm ready to start painting, and the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut the edges, but on the opposite side of the room, to give this some time to dry.
I like to cut in around the trim first and then roll the paint afterwards so that the roller can hide the brush marks. I'm also brushing the edges of each of the strips on the wall because the roller doesn't get to those very well.
So I haven't painted the main wall because I want to prime the wood first, and I kind of forgot. I should have primed it first so it would dry, so then I can do the first coat of paint, but I'm gonna prime it now.
Anytime I use bare material like bare drywall or bare wood in this case, I like to prime it first because it usually sucks up a lot of paint, and it might be fine if I would have just done a regular coat of paint first, but it makes me feel better if I use the primer because then I know it'll bond properly. There's always a part of the project where everything looks worse before it looks better. And I think this is at that point because right now this room looks questionable, and anybody who walks in here right now will probably wonder what am I doing to this room. But I just have to trust the process and know that at the end it will work out. Now that all the edges were done, it was time to get rolling. I've seen videos of these professional painters that can do a whole wall in like 5 seconds. Have you ever seen those? I'm not that fast. Maybe I will be someday, but for now, I like taking my time and doing the best job I can. It doesn't matter if it takes you a few extra hours or even a few extra days. You just do what you can in your own time, and that's okay. It's not a race. You win if you finish your job, however long it takes. I have pretty much found out that as a personal style, I love accent walls. And if I let myself, I will paint an accent wall in every room, and it will probably be green. In this room, I very much want to do the same, but I already did that with the office and the living room, and I want to push myself to try different styles so that I have different limitations to work with when it comes to putting a room together. Leaving the walls a neutral color also gives me the freedom to play around with any color on the bed sheets and accent pillows, and I can change them around and maybe even theme the room a bit depending on the season. There's a couple reasons why I'm redoing this room and spending a little bit more time and money on it. The first reason is during my early 20s, I had a friend who I would go visit and stay at her house, and her guest room always felt peaceful and welcoming. It's hard to explain, but it feels so comfortable staying there. It felt better than a hotel, to be honest, and I guess I want to recreate that feeling for whoever stays here, which is mostly my family, especially my dad who comes frequently from New York. The second reason, we've been living in this house for around 6 to 7 years, and the entire time I had a full-time job, plus I always had some sort of side project, so I didn't spend much time here. I didn't have time to update the house to our style, and I finally had the opportunity to do that. Eventually, I will do our bedroom, but I feel like doing the guest room first gives me the ability to practice and test different ideas so that I can come up with what I really want to do when it comes time to do our bedroom. It also will give us a space to sleep that is comfortable while we do our bedroom, because our bedroom is bigger than this, so it will be a much bigger project. I woke up so sick today. I have a cold and I don't feel good. And I don't want to do this, but I'm going to finish it. I'm hoping it only takes one more coat, because I can see the color bleed through a lot, and this is supposed to be a 1-coat paint, which I never trust that. I always do 2 coats no matter what. And we have a hurricane coming in a couple days, and we had one less than a couple weeks ago. So anyways, I want to finish this and then I'm going back to sleep. So if you notice that my voice sounded a little different on the voiceovers, now you know why. After I started the second coat on the first wall, I ran out of paint, so I had to go to the store and get more paint, and then I took a break before I started. But when I went to start again, I just noticed they gave me the wrong color. You see how that one is darker than that one? I'm glad I noticed that before I started painting the wall, because that could have been a disaster. After the second coat, I could see a little bit of bleed through in some areas, so I ended up doing a third coat. And if you're curious, the cost of doing this pattern wall plus the paint was $232. Painting for me is one of the most exciting parts of a project, because it's one of those things that completely changes the room and gives me a blank canvas to work with. I'm happy with how the pattern wall turned out, and I can't wait to see how it will all look together. The next step after this is to figure out what to do with the furniture. I would like to find a couple of night tables and center the bed, and maybe refinish the dresser that I already have. I honestly haven't figured out all the details on this bedroom. I'm kind of figuring it out as I go while I keep everything on a budget. And a couple of things are still up in the air. Like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna change the flooring, even though I really should. I don't know if I'm gonna keep the bed frame because I really don't like it. So those are things that I still have to decide, but one step at a time. And for those of you who were wondering, we did make it through the hurricane okay. I really appreciate everyone that wished us well and reached out.